Okay, it looks like the participants number has stopped going up. So let's start our first information webinar for the Masters of Geomatics for Environmental Management program. So we're very excited to have you guys attending and joining us today. Who you're going to be hearing from today is so myself in the middle of the screen there. Kathleen Copeland, I'm the MGEM program coordinator, and I'm going to be sort of launching and introducing this session and also facilitating the questions at the end. Then you're going to hear from Dr. Nicholas Coops, who is the MGEM program director. He's going to be speaking to the general structure and outline of the program. And then you're going to be hearing from Lee Yepiton, who's going to be talking about the admissions process, tuition, and sort of the administrative side of the application process from start to finish. So we're going to start off with a really quick overview of Vancouver, Canada, the University of BC, the master's program that you're all here to find out more about. So the Masters of Geomatics for Environmental Management. We're going to run through some career opportunities, find out what the alumni are saying, talk about how to apply tuition and funding opportunities, and then get into a question and answer session. I would like to take a moment and begin by acknowledging that the land that I am presenting from, and I think the other presenters are also on, is the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Musqueam First People. So this is a picture of the reconciliation pole, which is located just outside the Faculty of Forestry's building, and which is located at the University of British Columbia on the Vancouver campus. So the university is located on the westernmost peninsula and the Vancouver metro region, and has been sort of consistently ranked among the top 20 public universities in the world. A little bit about the numbers of the students that are on campus at any given time. UBC has about 66,000 total students. 55,000 of them are sort of attending at the Vancouver campus. Coming down a little bit closer to home and to the Faculty of Forestry, which is hosted in the Forest Sciences Center building. UBC Forestry is ranked in the top 3 forestry schools in the world, and we have over 1,500 students, over which 400 of which are graduate students. So the MGEM program is situated within this graduate student population. And so it's sort of a part of a broader graduate community within the faculty. There are currently 4 professional master's programs here at UBC. So there's the Masters of Geomatics for Environmental Management, which we will probably mostly be calling MGEM for the rest of this presentation for brevity. We have the Masters of Urban Forestry and Leadership, Master of International Forestry, and the Master of Sustainable Forest Management. And today we're just going to be talking about that first one, so the Master of Geomatics for Environmental Management. At this point, I'm going to pass it off to Nicholas Coops, who's going to talk about some of the specifics of the program. Nicholas, I believe you're muted.
Sounds good. So thank you very much. Thanks, Kathleen, for that introduction, and welcome everyone to this webinar. It's our pleasure to brief you about the program and then answer any questions that you might have. So at its very broadest, MGEM is a 9-month course-based master's program. So course-based master's means that you're getting your master's degree principally by doing coursework. There is no thesis component to this program. So you do 9 months worth of courses, and after that 9 months, you get a master's, and that is the Masters of Geomatics for Environmental Management. So it is different than a research-based master's program, which some of you might be thinking about. This is very much a master's program focused on giving you the skills very quickly, because you're only here for 9 months, to then go and work in the area of geospatial science, landscape ecology, different aspects of geospatial skills and technologies that you can apply in your workplace to tackle pressing environmental issues. So these programs are very much designed to give you a skill set to go and get a job. They're not designed as research-based programs to undertake research. So that's what this course-based master's definition means. And obviously it's very quick by being only a 9-month program. Next slide, please. So the main areas that we try to cover when we think about the way MGEM works is different components of the program. You'll get hands-on experience by doing a lot of computer-based analysis. You'll be using a whole range of different software suites. You'll be playing with data from day one all the way through with the 9-month projects, the 9-month program. You will understand different types of data, different programming languages such as R and Python. You will meet, obviously, the other people doing the program, but you also have a great opportunity to meet other faculty and researchers working in the area, alumni, who also come and join the cohort throughout the 9 months, giving you guest lectures and different sessions that you can be involved in. And ultimately, you're learning from people and from the Faculty of Forestry that has many skills in this area. So it's a really quite an interdisciplinary program that brings together these landscape ecology, remote sensing, geographic information system, databases, all of these types of disciplines together into this geomatics program. Next slide, please. So let's go into detail and think about what you'll learn. As I mentioned, the curriculum is a mix then of theory. So you'll learn theory through lectures and then hands-on experience either through programming or data management. Next slide. Getting into more detail, you'll learn about landscape ecology, ecosystem modeling, and there's a variety of core environment management themes for things like carbon, water resources, climate change, different aspects of the environment where geomatics is commonly being used. So that provides an overarching course that you take at the very beginning of the program that gives you the context about our changing environment today and how geomatics can be used to address some of those issues. Once you've done that broad course, you then go into these very technical specialized courses about geomatics. Analytical and quantitative courses about GIS, remote sensing, image processing, spatial statistics, spatial data analysis, and programming. So these are the bread and butter courses that get you through the 9 months, giving you the skills that you need to then go and work in this area. There's an opportunity for you to work on a small project. So this is not a thesis, it's a project that you work on with a mentor from outside the program of a particular application they want you to look at. So we can either provide you with a project, or you might come with an interest about doing a small project within the MGEM program. We provide you with a mentor, someone who can provide some broad supervision around that particular question, and then you'll work on that question throughout the 9-month program. The course itself is a small part of the overall program, so you don't spend a lot of time on that project, but you do get to do some project work on a particular topic that interests you. And then lastly, there is a series of courses that will touch on critical skills that you need as someone working in geomatics. And these things would include things like project management, project development, project proposal writing, policy analysis, and these types of more soft skills that any consultant working in geomatics would like to have. Next slide. So that's the broad overview. In terms of the actual names of the courses and what they are, they're listed here. And so I won't spend too much time on that, but on the left-hand side is those core courses that I talked about. On the right-hand side are these other courses that you will take as either separate courses or they're integrated into larger ones where you're learning about these professional development courses that you should be learning as well as the technical stuff within the 9-month program. Next slide. The benefit of the program, what you will learn is that you'll be able to go and take these skills that you have developed over that 9-month plan, 9-month program, and then to be able to do things like the following: model landscapes and ecosystems for planning and assessment, integrate these ideas of landscape planning and landscape ecology to geomatics focused tools, and then collaborate with communities and people that are working in geospatial data to address the environmental issues that we talked about at the very beginning, these pressing environmental challenges that we're trying to address. Next slide, please. So the program is a combination. You will actually work in the field to some extent. You'll get a chance to go and look in the forest and see some applications of different technologies being used. I mean, most of the time you spend in the classroom, but there's opportunities to go out to the research forest that UBC has. We have an initial retreat where we all go out together for 3 or 4 days at the beginning of the program, where we think about the environment, the forests that we see in British Columbia and the changes that they're undergoing. For example, fly drones. We do interpretive walks to start to see the environment that we're working around. And these sort of outdoor experiences also complement the lectures and the labs that you do as part of the program. So of course you're inside most of the time doing these courses over the 9 months, but we do exploit the fact that we're in a faculty of forestry. We have lots of different opportunities to go out and spend time in the forest throughout your 9 months. So you will see some of the environment around British Columbia and the beautiful forest that we have. Okay, so I guess thinking about, is the program right for you? Next slide. The program is designed for someone who has a passion for environmental management and an interest in geospatial technology. So that would be the 2 things that I think that you would want to think about having. Do you want to work in an environmental field? Do you want to work as a planner or a forester or an ecologist or any type of person working in the environment? And then what sort of skills do you want to be able to apply to those issues? And this program is very much focused around geospatial skills, using remote sensing, GIS, spatial data programming to help go away and address those problems. So maybe you're a person working in the conservation industry or working in the forestry industry, or someone who's perhaps had an ecology degree and you're interested in learning more of these technical skills. Maybe you did one of these courses in your undergrad and you'd really like to know a lot more. Maybe you're working in a company and they'd like to see you develop more skills in this area so they can improve their ability to work in this area as well. So I think if you come from those type of backgrounds, an environmental type background, then it's a very good thing to add to your skill set. You might actually be someone like a computer scientist and an engineer looking to work for the environment. So maybe you've come from a different angle. Maybe you're very good at working with computers and you've done a lot of programming and statistical background. Maybe you've done math, engineering, and you really want to start to see and work in the environmental domain. And so you're bringing a skill set and then learning more about how you apply these to the environment. So that would perhaps be a second path that you might have come into this program. And it's worth mentioning, over the last 5 years, we've had both of these types of students come into the program. We've had students that have done a whole range of different environmental degrees, from everything from geology to atmospheric science. We've even had students coming in from the humanities, as well as very technical students that have come in from computer science and programming and engineering to come and do the program. So we're open to accepting students from any of those types of fields. And as we say there, we've had recent graduates from forestry, geography, computer science, engineering, commerce, arts, and many undergraduate degrees from across Canada and internationally. The thing we want to see, though, is that you've had some type of quantitative training. So we'll go through the admission requirements at the end, but ideally you've had some sort of statistics course, some sort of course that's allowed you to understand quantitative analysis. And virtually all of those programs I've listed above do have some sort of flavor of that. So as long as you have some type of quantitative training within one of those degrees, we would welcome you into the program. Next slide. So we're often asked, what sort of job will I get? What sort of career will I have if I go away and do the MGEM program? So we often think about these jobs as being very skilled green jobs. So I'm sure many of you have heard about green careers and green jobs. The fact we're using geomatics to help think about environmental problems, it means that this MGEM program really fits within that green job type domain. And I'm sure you appreciate there's really a great demand for these types of positions. When you think about geospatial data, think about how you even use your phone, how you use GPS in your car. Think about using Google Maps or even using navigation on your phone where you have imagery and road maps. All of these types of skills are built by geomatics specialists. So everything you do where you think about where am I, that means that you're thinking about geospatial science. And so any company or any government department or any non-government agency that's thinking about working in the environment and cares about where you are, obviously they're going to care about geomatics. And so we find that many of our, or virtually all of our graduates immediately get jobs in this green job domain where they're thinking about geospatial science and applying it to a particular issue. Next slide. And this idea of geospatial information, where am I, is a rapidly growing sector. And you can see here it's worth billions of dollars annually to everyone from Google to the World Wildlife Fund, to the federal government of Canada, the provincial governments of Canada, to many governments and companies around the world. So many companies, many governments are asking, how do we integrate this spatial information into the decisions that we make? And we need access to geospatial scientists. So when you write your CV, next slide, you'll be able to talk about what can you do, where you're going to be able to demonstrate that you can rapidly and effectively handle large amounts of data. You've worked in cloud-based computing like Google Earth Engine. You're integrating spatial data every single day through the code that you write, through the analysis that you do, through QGIS or ArcMap or ArcPro or Envy or whatever image processing system you use, using R, using Python, all of these different tools to go away and look at these technologies for these environmental issues. And our graduates, as I mentioned, have gone on to work in a whole range of different sectors over the last 5 years, including industry, including groups like the Italian Space Agency, governments, consulting, private companies, non-government organizations, and academia. So we have over 5 years of graduates now, and many of them have sort of fed back to us about the program, what they've liked, and we've adapted the program based on their comments. And they also provide great feedback around what they've learned. We've got a couple of quotes from past graduates here. The first one's by Brent Murray, who actually is still at UBC and has graciously joined the call. So I'll get Brent to, you don't have to read your quote, Brent. You can talk just more broadly about taking the program in 2021 and what you think it's given you. You have the floor.
For sure. Thank you, Nicholas. So again, my name is Brent Murray. I did the MGEM program in the 2020-2021 year. And so one of the things that I got from that program was actually the skills and the knowledge that I needed to help me in the field of geomatics. Particularly working on my capstone project was super, super important to what I got from the program. Because I was able to communicate with different people, with the client or the topical mentor that I was working with to just give a project and give a product as well of what they wanted to communicate, from what I think would be the best methods to finally giving the end results and communicating that in a way that was super beneficial. I also thoroughly enjoyed all of the classes that were part of the program. Even though I had some remote sensing and GIS experience before, I continually learned throughout this program. And also some of the leadership courses that we took as well helped me to further my career when I went into consulting, and then now coming back to UBC as a researcher here. So yeah.
Thank you very much. So can you also, you've mentioned this project course. It's only worth a small amounts of credit, so you don't get to spend too much time on it, but you said you found it very useful. Can you talk a little bit about how much time you spent on that and what your actual project was on?
Yeah, for sure. So I think one of the benefits of this program is that everything that I learned throughout all the other classes, I applied in my project as well. So even though I was learning, or this class doesn't have a lot of time designated to it, I was applying the techniques and the different methods that I learned throughout other classes, whether that be GIS or remote sensing or landscape ecology, into my project as well. And so my project was looking at burn severity and forest rejuvenation over a period of 5 years in the Little Bobtail Lake wildfire in northwestern BC there, just to model how the burn severity has impacted the rejuvenation of that forest over time, and whether that was something that we could model in a time series, in a time series kind of way, so that we can understand, okay, here's this very high burn severity area. How is that going to impact how the forest is going to grow and the competition that's going on in that area as well?
Excellent. So you finished the program and then you went straight into a consulting job, so which many of the graduates do, because you become very employable. So what skills did you learn in MGEM that you think made you the right candidate to work in consulting? What when they talk to you about your experiences, what did you sort of learn from MGEM that you think helped you get that job?
I think there's three most important skills in that. One of them being the programming aspect of it. A lot of consulting firms, they require you to have some sort of programming, whether that be R or Python. And MGEM provides you with both of those skills so that you can use them to help benefit that. Also in the remote sensing and the GIS sides, I was able to learn the different methods and novel methods as well for applying different landscape metrics or different methods to solve these real world problems, because a lot of times these clients want to know the newest and best thing of these consulting firms. And so we provide that knowledge to these clients and to the company as a whole, so that way we can understand these things. And then finally, a lot of these leadership classes provided me with the tools for whether that's project management or setting up things for requests for proposals, to be successful in getting these different clients into the company as well. So
great, thank you very much. That's excellent feedback, and I appreciate that. It is worth mentioning that you're now doing a PhD. So sometimes people ask, if I do a course-based master's, does it stop me from going on to graduate school beyond a master's? And so you're an example there of, no, it doesn't. It doesn't stop you. You can still, even though MGEM's not a research-based program, you can still do the master's and then pick up on a research-based PhD if you like. It's not common. We don't have many students do that, but some certainly do decide they want to stay in academia longer and then do a PhD, which is what you've decided to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. Next slide, please. There's another quote here from another student that was actually in the same cohort as Brent. This is from Mason Young. He's now a GIS technician with the BC Public Service. It's a long quote, but he's saying he felt quite well-rounded and valuable learning experience. He learned everything from making beautiful maps to managing complex projects to starting a business. It gave him with those tools to help him succeed. He appreciated that sort of mixture of lectures and labs and hands-on type approaches. And then he's listing a few bits of technology that he enjoyed working on. He touched on the same thing that Brent did, that with this project, you do get to work with a mentor who he describes there as a client. And he found that also very rewarding when he worked through his project and talked to people about what he was working on. It's challenging, which is good that he mentioned that. It's a 9-month program. You certainly work hard in those 9 months. There's always assignments due and there's always work to be done. So it's not an easy program in that sense. But nice to hear then that he felt that the teaching team was accommodating and eager to help to provide guidance when needed. Okay, so with that background to the program and the course, I'll now move it over to Lee. And Lee is in charge of our admission process, and so she can run through some more details around what you need to do and what you need to have. And then Lee, I'll pass the floor to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas. So I'll be going over the program requirements for the next few slides, and I noticed there's a question about funding and scholarships. I'll also be touching upon that in the next few slides as well. So I'll be going over some of those questions that you may have. So like Nicholas touched upon earlier, that most of our students have a wide range of academic background, such as forestry, environmental science, computer science, and geography, as well as commerce, engineering. So if you don't have a specific field that's listed here, you are still encouraged to apply, and you can also contact me directly if you have any further questions. I'm giving a very high overview of the admission process, so I won't be going into the very specific, but if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to connect with you. And also, we are looking for students who have completed at least a basic statistics course before they apply, or at least before they start the program, they should have completed this course. Students should also have show evidence of a working understanding of computer systems, such as understanding basic operating systems and spreadsheets and word processing, and as well as students with technical writing skills and experience with computer coding or scripting. Next, please. Students who are applying from US and Canada, we require at least a 4-year bachelor's degree with an overall average of B+ range in their 3rd and 4th year level courses. So that's equivalent to 76% at UBC. If you're applying from an international country, Faculty of Grad Studies actually sets out the minimum requirements to apply, and you can find that information under the Faculty of Grad Studies webpage, or there's also a link that will get you there from our admissions webpage as well. Next, thanks. Students who are applying from outside of Canada and US, where English is not the primary language of instruction, will also be required to provide an English language proficiency test as part of their application. If the school that you attended, the primary language is English, then you will need to either provide a letter from the university to indicate that, if this is a school outside of US and Canada, or if it says on the website, you can also send me the URL link, and we can verify that. A list of acceptable English language tests is also found on our webpage, so I'd encourage you to look there for also the minimum score requirements. Next. Our application portal is open, and in order to apply, you'll need to complete and submit the online application and pay the application fee. So the fees are listed there. For Canadians, it's $112, and international students are $168. You'll also need to include scanned copies of all official transcripts from all the post-secondary institutions you've attended, regardless if you finished a degree or not from that school. You'll also be required to submit 3 letters of references, and one of them will need to be an academic reference. You also need to, as mentioned, if you're an international student, you may be required to submit an English language test as well. And as part of the online application portal, there is an MGEM questionnaire that allows you to expand further on your skills. And so you'll need to complete that MGEM questionnaire, and submit a letter of intent and a CV as well in the application. So the applications are due March 15th for next July 2023 intake. That means all the supporting documents, including the letters and the transcripts and the CV, will need to be submitted by March 15th midnight. And more information can also be found on our webpage. Do we have, I guess, next slide? Yes, thank you. So the next few slides will go over the tuition and the funding. So tuition for this program, it's a professional program. So it's primarily funded, actually 100% is funded by students. And as you can see by the tuition there, it's about $18,000 for Canadian and permanent residents. And for international students, it's higher, it's about $38,000. And the reason for that is because UBC is a public funded university. We also require tuition to be paid in 3 equal installments, which is at the beginning of July, September, and January. Upon acceptance, there is a a non-refundable deposit of $1,000 if you choose to accept the offer. These fees are reviewed annually by the UBC Board of Governors, and in recent years there has been slight increase, about 2% for continuing domestic fees, and 2 to 5% for the international fees. Next, please. There are very few numbers of merit-based awards that we currently offer, but they're not offered as an entrance scholarship. They're offered for the current students who are admitted into the program, and they're solely for merit-based. So it's usually given to the top couple students in the program. And those are given out during the program and at the end of the program. There is one entrance scholarship. It's the Forestry Indigenous Graduate Student Entrance Scholarship. So more information about that can be found on the tuition and funding page. Next, please. So that concludes my presentation, and we're happy to take any questions you may have if you enter it in the chat box. And I believe we have a social media page as well on the next slide. I just realized. And also, if you can also contact me directly at forestry.cbm@ubc.ca, or visit our webpage for frequently asked questions. Next, please. And we're on Instagram and Twitter at UBC MGEM.
All right. Thank you, Lee, Nicholas, and Brent. I'm just gonna stop sharing the screen here so that we're our faces are a little larger, and we can get to any questions. So now is the time. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. We had a few questions that got sent in early. So if I don't see any questions pop up in the chat, I will start with those questions. Just give me one moment here to stop the share. All right. I've got too many things open on my screen. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions come up in the chat. Oh, there we go. I am seeing questions come up in the chat. I had the wrong chat box opened. Okay, so there's a question about the need to advance skill in the field, so that any scholarships available. So Lee answered that already. There is only sort of merit-based scholarships for those who are already in the program, but no entrance scholarships. And then the next question is, how much overlap in coursework is there between the minor of GIS and GC and the MGEM program? Nicholas, do you have anything to add on that?
So I think they're referring to the minor in GIS and geography at UBC. I'm not quite sure what minor specifically you're talking about, but remember, minors are associated with undergraduate programs. So you might do an undergraduate program that has a minor in GIS, but that's still going to be part of your undergraduate degree in geography, for example. So there is quite a difference in terms of what is taught in the professional program. You know, we teach at a higher level than in the undergraduate courses. So there is an introductory remote sensing and introductory GIS courses, but these introductory courses are much more packed and high level than an introductory course in an undergraduate program. So even if you don't know anything about remote sensing, we teach you that, but we teach you that quite quickly, and then get into, you know, more complicated and complex remote sensing much quicker than you would in an undergraduate program. So if you've already done some of that before, then the first couple of weeks might be refresher, and then you go into new stuff. If you haven't done it before, then you learn the basics quite quickly, and then you're already probably doing intermediate level GIS and remote sensing already within the first 2 or 3 weeks. So you know, some of the concepts are similar to what you might learn in an undergraduate program, but really the level, the pace, the questions, the applications, the lab, the software, all of that is a much higher level, at the graduate level that you're doing in MGEM. So in previous questions, people have also gone through UBC Forestry, and they might have done an undergraduate course taught by me even in remote sensing, or taught by another faculty member in GIS, And then you see me teaching the MGEM program, obviously I'm teaching at a much higher level. We do touch on some of the same material, but we quickly move into new things. So I wouldn't be concerned about overlap. And I think they're very different things, the difference between an undergraduate versus a graduate level program. Because remember, you're getting a master's.
Next question that we have up is about how much of the program is primarily focusing on forest management. So I can say that it's not a dominant focus of the course. It's forestry and forest sort of management. Ideas and concepts are used in the labs to provide examples. We are in the Faculty of Forestry. There's a lot of research going on around that. But I would say that it's not a forest management program. Nicholas or Brent, do you have anything to add to that? Brent, how much forest management did you learn in the MGEM program?
All of it, basically, because I came from a humanities background, Bachelor of Arts in Geography. So I had no forest management before going into MGEM. So
yeah, so we do use forest management concepts and techniques, mostly for examples and demonstrative purposes in the course. There are some of the capstone projects that are more forestry related. Some of them are less forestry related. We've had some people bring in their own projects that are very forestry and forest management connected. So there is a diverse range. If the goal is to become a forester, probably not the MGEM program. And then how many students are typically admitted into the program? Lee, do you want to cover that one, or do you want me to speak to that? No, Lee's pointing at me, I think, in the screen. So we typically have a cohort size that's about 30. There may be potential for it to be slightly larger this upcoming year, unsure, but the typical class size has been somewhere between sort of 28 to 32. So it's a pretty small class. The goal is that everyone in the cohort gets to know each other. There's lots of interpersonal sort of learning and bonding. There's a dedicated classroom for the program where the students spend a lot of time working on projects, even if they're not sort of group assignments, working together. And part of the way that we build that connection and cohesion in the program is by keeping it quite small. Another question in the chat. More in depth into the other natural aspects like water pollution prevention analysis. Nicholas?
So I think, so you've got to remember the project is geomatics. It's not about environmental problems. It's around how do you apply geomatics to environmental problems. So in your project, for example, if you wanted to work on water quality and you wanted to try to use satellite imagery to look at water quality and then assess how it's changing, that would be a great project. We would encourage you to do that. You're welcome to do that. There's no reason that your project needs to be anything to do with forestry. It could be any sort of environmental problem. And over the years, we've had all sorts of projects, including things about night lights and urban expansion. And we've had projects about ice and snow. People have had projects around landslides and all these sorts of things. So evidence of climate change. Brent did fires. So there's been agricultural questions. So there is no reason it needs to be forestry, but it does need to be related to geomatics. So water pollution prevention is not geomatics. If you could apply geomatics data to that question or management problem, and you wanted to make that your focus, then that would be fine. You know, we do try certainly to have a broad approach to how you use geomatics in the environment. So you'll be welcome to do that as long as it had that geospatial perspective. Kathleen.
I think that was well covered answer there, Nicholas. So the next question here, I can speak to this one. It says, do graduates mostly get desk-oriented jobs or do some get more field-related jobs? I would say that it is dependent on what you want to do. We do have alumni who are working in field-related jobs, who are going out and doing the actual data collection, who are flying drones, who are collecting environmental data, coming back and then analyzing it. We have one alumni who's sort of doing half forestry, half GIS. And that was a really sort of strong push for him. He wanted to work outside, so he found a way to leverage that. So the people who want to work in field-oriented jobs tend to find a way to make that happen. There are a lot of students who want to work in the desk jobs, who want to have a 9-to-5 job where they show up at the office and they have that sort of office environment and culture. And so really for this, I would say you're not limited to only a desk job with the MGEM program. It's really about what you want to do and how you can sort of push and leverage the skills from the program. We're definitely not limiting you from a field job, but the goal of the MGEM program is not to provide you with extensive field skills per se, but mostly sort of working and using and analyzing the data. And but I don't think that the program has ever limited anyone from going and working in the field. And I see Brent is nodding along. So the application deadline is March 15th, but when would the final results be posted? So MGEM does a bit of sort of staggered admissions. So as the admissions come in, applications come in, they do get reviewed quite quickly. There are some offers that go out right away. There are typically, though, most of the time, the offers will go out shortly after the March 15th close date. Normally within a couple weeks or two is when the bulk of the offers will come out. But I would encourage people to get their applications in as early as possible. There's often delays with getting letters of references completed and making sure that every sort of part of the application is completed. So I strongly encourage people to submit their applications as soon as possible. Lee, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, that's a really good point, Kathleen. And also because it takes a while now to get your study permit to come to Canada. If you're an international student, I also would encourage you to apply early. And if it's a very strong application, we will make early offers so that you can apply for your study permit early and get here in time for the start of the program.
There's someone here who has majored in natural resource conservation here at UBC Forestry. I wonder if I need to take additional courses on GIS or data analysis. I would say no. Nicholas? Do you expect?
Well, I'm not sure what they mean by additional courses. You will get no exemptions from, you'll get no exemptions in MGEM. So you'll be expected to do everything in MGEM, even though you've done a course here in UBC Forestry and you may have done GIS, you will still be required to do every course in MGEM because, as I said, they're quite different than the undergraduate courses. So you will need to do MGEM in its entirety, even if you came from UBC. You don't need to do any additional courses beyond what MGEM gives you because MGEM gives you a fantastic package of courses, but you wouldn't be exempt from doing any either.
Just in case the question was asking, do I need to take extra courses to make myself a better applicant? I would say, I don't think that there's any sort of, we don't expect students to come in with a huge background of GIS courses and coursework. We provide that in the program, just because that question could be taken two different ways. And Nicholas, you took it the different way than I understood it. So
yeah, so if that person wants to rephrase the question, we can always answer that as well. Okay, no problem.
Just in case we didn't. Okay, that's all the questions that I'm seeing come up in the chat right now. And a bunch of them are repeats from the questions that got sent in earlier. However, there are a few of them that I will read out since we've got a little bit of time. Someone is saying that as an undergraduate, they're worried about getting some work experience while in school. What kind of qualities do we value most for candidates, and how could we increase the likelihood or make myself a stronger applicant? We really do like to see work experience in our incoming students. It's, we do strongly, even if it's just, over the summer or doing, a small placement somewhere, we really do like to see that work experience, especially if it can be connected to the geomatics or environmental industries. In terms of sort of being that would be the number one way that I would suggest, how can you make yourself a better applicant? it would be through that. And also just, we do ask for this letter of intent, sort of showing a dedication to geomatics and GIS, showing that you understand what that type of data could look like, what it can do. In that sort of letter of intent is also a way to come across as a very strong candidate. I'm not quite sure. It says what opportunities or groups are available for students in the program. So there is sort of, I think this question is probably asking to sort of broader opportunities in terms of connecting to geospatial professionals. So every year the MGEM program hosts sort of a career networking conversational event where we bring in geomatics companies and professionals, and we bring in all the MGEM students, and there's a chance to sort of connect with people in the industry. We also always have a series of volunteer projects where students work with geospatial companies to sort of complete a tiny sort of additional project on top of their schoolwork if they are so inclined or have the time. The number of those sort of volunteer opportunities varies from year to year, depending on what companies have the time and the bandwidth and the capacity to host those things. I don't know if that fully touched on that question. We've got a couple other questions. This one will be for you, Lee. Do official transcripts need to be sent by the university, or can I upload the scanned copies of the transcripts as well?
So at the time of applying, they can definitely scan and upload that. They should scan and upload the transcript themselves. But if they are admitted to the program, they will be required to make a request to their university to send the official transcript in sealed envelopes to Faculty of Grad Studies to satisfy the condition of admission.
Perfect. I'm going to detour just a little bit to one of the questions that was sent in early. It says, is the UBC MGEM program an online program? No, the program is in person. We did briefly switch to online during the pandemic. However, we've been trying to bring as much of the program back in person as possible. You have to be in Vancouver and able to get to the classroom to complete the program. There is no online version of this program. We also find that with keeping it in person, that there's a lot more group work and teamwork and bonding within the cohort, and it actually adds this level of richness that was missing from the online year of the program. We do get asked this question a lot, but this sort of extra learning opportunities and learning from your peers and building those bonds far outweighs the advantages of online programs. So other questions for the multivariate stats course, what is the level of RStudio you guys expect us to be equipped with before we get started? We have no requirements in the MGEM program for students to have any R or coding experience. That first sort of time that we spend out in Loon Lake and the first week of the orientation, we make sure that we do an intro to R. In fact, we have at one point, when me and Nicholas have been talking, called that the R intensive weekend. So we don't expect anyone to come in with R. It's great if you have a bit of a background. It just makes those sort of first initial steps a bit easier, but there's no expectations to be fluent in R. And we've been working on improving those introductions and getting students feeling comfortable with R quite quickly in the program. And I think that, we do a pretty good job of it. So if I have a post-secondary degree and I'm pursuing a second degree at UBC, will the admissions mainly evaluate my performance at UBC? I mean, we would look at both.
We'll look at the bachelor's degree first for the 300 and 400 level courses to see if you meet the minimum requirements. And if you don't, we can look at the secondary, post-secondary, the second degree, so your master's degree as well.
And then another question that's popped up online, it says, would this program be a realistic opportunity for a mid-career professional? Nicholas, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we've had quite a few mid-career professionals come into the program. And the age cohort, the range of ages we have in MGEM is actually quite large. So we actively encourage people that are mid-career, people that have perhaps worked for 5 or 6, 10 years in a company or for a government position, realize that they need to get a more skill set, realize it's very hard to do that while they're working. And so therefore they either resign or they get permission from their company to take 9 months to come back to school, and then they come back to UBC and they get the degree and then go back to the position. So that is not uncommon. And in fact, we really like that. We really like having a really broad range of experiences from the cohort that we have. We don't want people to all just be out of university. We would like people with lots of different life experiences and project experiences and data and coming from all over the world. So we actively encourage mid-career scholars to join us, and every year we always have a proportion of students in the program that are like that.
All right, and then I think there's just one more question that was sent in early that I'm going to address, and I'm going to throw this one to Brent. The question says, what kind of challenges do students come across? In general terms, what do you recommend to avoid them before starting? So Brent, what challenges? I know you were online, but you also know what goes on in the program right now. What kind of challenges do the students face?
So I know I didn't have any R experience going into MGEM, and so learning a new programming language was something that I had to kind of go through. I did have Python experience before, so I was able to apply that knowledge. But I do feel that a lot of people will spend a little bit more time trying to understand the programming languages a little bit more. And I have heard lots of people say that they've taken like a free online introductory course into Python or R, just to kind of help them get ready for that, because that's what most people are nervous about going into this program. I have also heard a couple people just looking up just again some free or cheap courses on GIS and remote sensing, but again, we cover a lot of that in class, and so it's not necessary for you to do that prior. But I think those were the two challenges that people face, and particular the coding one and the programming languages is something that people tend to focus on prior to coming into the program.
And then I'll add on a little bit. When the program starts, one of the things that I see is there's this, one of the biggest challenges is this time management challenge that students face. The program is very intense. I don't know if, and we expect a lot from our students, and we expect work to be done at a very high caliber. There are it's an assignment-based program predominantly. And so there are lots of assignments, lots of different content. Everything is sort of coming at you from lots of different directions, and time management and sort of staying on top of the work, not getting overwhelmed is a challenge that a lot of the students face at the start of the year. It always takes a couple of weeks before, they really get their feet under them and are comfortable. But that is also a challenge that I think a lot of students face. I don't know if there's any advice on how to solve that beforehand, but I think just being prepared for the intensity of the program is a good start. Being prepared for the MGEM program to dominate your life for 9 months, and then you leave with a master's degree in this short time is something to keep in mind about this program. Nicholas, any other broad challenges that you've seen students face?
No, I think you've covered that well. I mean, we are cognizant of mental health. And there's lots of check-in sessions and feedback sessions, and there's a number of different things we have in place to try to ensure that there's a nice, well-rounded to your 9 months. But it's a difficult 9 months. We don't encourage people to try to have a job at the same time. It's not possible to maintain a job and do MGEM. So you've got to be realistic around the commitment that you're making, but it should be, it's hard work, but very rewarding. And ultimately, we believe you'll get a good job as a result of it.
So thank you. I'm going to answer this last question, and then I think we're going to wrap up for this info session. If there are other questions after this last one, please send them via email, and we'll get back to you. So the question is, how soon can one get a job after completing this program? Does the department assist in job applications and career growth? So it's a sort of multi-part question. The program does absolutely assist with career growth. This year, we're doing a career conversations event where we're bringing in geomatics professionals to talk to the students about how to present themselves in interviews and on resumes and those preliminary emails, what kind of skills they're looking for, how to market yourself. We do writing workshops. We typically do a resume and cover letter workshop that we bring the students into, in addition with ensuring that we funnel opportunities that we get on our end to the students as quickly as possible. How soon can one get a job after completing the program depends on a bunch of different factors. If you are determined to stay in only one location and not move outside of that, you're self-limiting yourself. If you're open to the plethora of opportunities that are out there, you can get a job, you can have a job ready to go the Monday after the program ends. It depends on what you are looking for. And in fact, we do have many students have a job right away as soon as the program is completed. Students who have more restrictions on where they can go or what they're looking for, that will sometimes take a little bit longer. Just the more restrictions you put on yourself for potential opportunities or that are there, sometimes there's a bit of a delay, but our graduates have been very successful, especially the ones who are open to many different opportunities. And Brent is nodding along, which I like to see. So
yeah,
I
got it. Oh, sorry. I got a job right after MGEM. I actually got it during the program. And I think the biggest thing is that I was provided with the tools that I needed to get a job and to be a successful candidate for that. So just keep your job market open to be able to move or do different things like that. So, yeah.
All right. It is 10:59. So we're right on time here. So I think we're going to end this info session for today. Again, if there are any lingering questions, you can find the email to reach out to that was at the end of that PowerPoint. You can email me if you want to send me a message directly about some specifics of the program, or if you have certain concerns. If you're interested about the admission side, those should go to Lee. But yeah, thank you all for coming here. I hope you guys found this useful. Looking forward to see some applications and some questions come my way. And yeah, thank you so much. Thanks, Nicholas. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Brent. And thank you, everyone who participated and sent your questions in.
Thank you very much. Look forward to the applications.
Thank you.